Motivational Monday. Thank you for joining me today on Lifepro's page. Today we are going to be doing some discussion about stress, and particularly it is National Post-Traumatic Stress Disorder Day. And I always like to start things out with a little bit of a statistic. Many of you have heard of this. You may be dealing with it yourself. I think over the last couple of years, everyone to a degree has experienced heightened stress in some way, shape, or form. So it is estimated that about 6 out of 100 people, or 6% of the population, will have post-traumatic stress at some point in their lives. And they guess that there are 12 million adults right now in the US that are dealing with this in any given year. And keep in mind, when you look at stats, this one was from the National Institute of Health. If you're looking at these things online, that's a diagnosis. That's somebody going into a computer and saying this person is diagnosed with, or there's been some therapy billed. So this is where some of this is derived. I would think, and in my experience, for people using some of Lifepro's tools from a wellness and a self-care perspective, it's not always about fitness. That there's far more. It's just not that we've necessarily gone to the doctor and gotten that actual diagnosis, that piece of paper. So again, 6 out of 100 dealing with post-traumatic stress, but there are many other kinds of stress. You get stressed out at work, you get stressed out in relationships. Money is a big stressor. Poor weather, good weather. There's a million things that stress us out throughout the course of our day. And even though it may not have a specific diagnosis, the way that our body manifests stress, especially over long periods, it can accumulate and manifest all kinds of chronic conditions. You think it's just, sore back, sore neck, but long-term pacifying and just, not really managing our stress can cause some real chronic conditions. So I'm all about vibration machines, but we're going to talk about a couple of technologies that are suited for dealing with stress. And when you're looking at, tools to deal with managing your stress, however it presents itself, might be mental clarity issues, might be headaches, might be muscular tension, could be pain throughout the body, could be bad sleep. Stress manifests itself physically in many different ways, and a lot of it depends on us and our unique makeup, our health, our surroundings, our toxicity levels. There's a lot of things in the mix, and we know that there's lots of ways that we can de-stress and relax. And I'm going to show you a few ways on the vibration plate today, the laziest way possible to just chill, get some lymph, some circulation, and some relaxation going. And a lot of the tips that I like to show you are short, little kind of spot treatments that you can use throughout the day, of course, as symptoms present themselves. A little bit of science before I get to the shaking specific to vibration machines. And I'm going to have Lauren throughout the session drop a couple of links with some information for those of you that like to dig a little bit deeper, but I just want to give you some snapshots today. Vibration itself, or the shaking of the muscles for stress reduction, it's not a new concept. Sometimes you can cause stress to the body from the wrong type of shaking or the wrong type of vibration in a workplace or an industrial vibration setting where you're hanging on to a tamper for 8 hours a day. So sometimes there can be biological detrimental effects to vibration, but vibration as a therapeutic, as a treatment, has been around for a very, very long time. If you dig into some of the earlier articles specific to vibration machine, I'm going to bring up a name that's probably common to a few of you, especially at your breakfast table in the morning. In the science of physiology, muscle vibration has a very long history of research and practice. Going back as far as the 1900s, Dr. Harvey Kellogg, yes, of the Kellogg's Breakfast Company, was among the first to actually patent and develop a mechanical vibration therapeutic tool. And it was a chair. It was introduced as a vibrating chair platform, and there was a bar that you could hang on to that was later introduced by a Dr. Arnold Snow. The purpose of Snow's research was to call attention to the fundamental principles of mechanical vibration. Mechanical vibration, there's lots of vibration out there, but it's mechanically moving your body. Physically, your body is reacting to it. These initial and somewhat primitive mechanical vibrators were commonly prescribed by doctors for people who were suffering with, guess what? anxiety, insomnia, irritability, or nervousness. However, these machines were the forerunners to current multi-million-dollar industry that everybody knows as vibration platforms. So, as 100 years and some has evolved, there's lots of different vibrational tools out there. Lifepro's got a lineup of guns, massagers, anything that can get that circulation and lymph flowing is going to help you ease your stress wherever it derives from. Today, as I said, is post-traumatic stress disorder day. If this is something that you're dealing with or you're helping someone manage this condition, let me hear from you. I'd love to hear what some of your approaches may be, what's working for you, what hasn't worked, and hopefully I can give you a few tips today. I'm going to have Lauren drop a link to a global case study where I took this excerpt from. I've written about Dr. Kellogg and the history before, but this is a nice little snapshot with some more information if you wanted to look into that. And there's also a variety of other integrative mind body intervention modalities that have emerged. All kinds of things in the vibration therapy world. But interesting, I also wanted to mention that light therapy, there's a number of studies. You can get lost on the internet forever. Light, like vibration, has been used as a therapeutic tool in many ways, shapes, or forms, in many different types of devices. But anything from depression, seasonal affective disorder, bipolar. There's lots of different subcategories under that big umbrella of depression. And whichever way I was looking on Google over the weekend, just for a couple of references, there was some really good, healthy, sometimes seeing a lot of research, and a lot of it was current as well. As it just, they're going to do more research where they've seen positive effects in other research. So I'm going to have Lauren drop a couple of links. You guys can dig into that a little further. If you're not using light therapy now, the panel to me would be a really ideal complement for, if you're looking at treating just depression. You can set it up beside you. It's a little bit more robust. You can get a little bit more skin surface, non-invasive. You don't have to clean it. I think there's a lot of applications, and we see these the light therapy where you sit by the daylight. There's just as much benefit with the red light, if not more, because you don't get the UV effects that you do with traditional sunlight, if you will. You're just getting that UVA and the infrared, which is where a lot of the studies were stemming, was into that higher infrared category. So there's a couple there that I'm going to leave for you. For today, for those of you that have a vibration plate, I would like to invite you to join me on the machine, and I'm going to show you 2 seated exercises as a starting point, and then I'm going to show you a couple of other variations. If you're stressed out, if you're feeling down, you're super depressed, usually the last thing that you want to do is exercise. Probably the bigger body of research is the benefits, the known benefits of being active and exercising to combat depression and stress. But sometimes, when you're feeling down, you don't really want to. It's kind of the last thing you want to do. So I always say, one of my favorite sayings is, if you can start moving and feeling better, other things will progress and are much more possible. So the first thing I'm going to do today is I'm going to start seated. For those of you that have poor range of motion, maybe you've worked your butt off all day long. Oh, hang on, I'm just going to close my notes so I can see you all better. There. I would like you, and I'll come back to some questions here after. We're going to start our plate, positioning our feet about hip width apart. This is just a feel-good relaxation technique. This is not about busting a move and working out, although you certainly can if that's what you're doing now. But if you're just using a vibration plate for the first time, or you're dealing with bouts of depression, or you are down, I want you to realize that 2 to 3 minutes of your time, minimal investment, can really be a good path to turning that around without having to commit to the exercise. Hopefully it will inspire you and make you feel better to do that. But at the very least, if you're having trouble with your job, if you're dealing with a relationship issue, if chronically there's something going on that you are being treated for, adding a little bit of movement and shaking things up a little bit, literally, they're going to be a game changer. So what I want you to do is put your plate at a mid to higher speed range, So I'm on the Rumblex Plus model today, so I'm going to bring mine up to about the 40 to 50 range, bring it up in there. If you're dealing with a plate that's got 100 or 99 speeds, I want you at the 60, 70 range. The really slow speeds tend to be a little choppier, a little bit more jarring, and if you're tight with muscle tension or ligaments or poor circulation, you may find the mid to higher speeds much more comfortable. They're smoother, but the balance is bringing your feet to the hip width apart or a little bit closer. You're always in control. If your feet are wider, you're moving more. If your feet are closer, you're moving less. So the first thing that I recommend you do, maybe you do get home or you've been sitting at your desk for a while, just get those legs flowing. Your feet and your calves are the smaller muscles in your legs compared to your thighs, and they've got to do all this work pushing this blood uphill. It's not uncommon to have tension if you've got heart issues. You've really got to be careful about your stress, and you've also got to make sure that you've got strong calf muscles. That's what's returning the blood, and it's very, very important if you are dealing with cardiac stress, cardiac issues, that you keep those calf muscles fluid and moving. And the vibration plate is a really great way to help with that return and expedite some of that circulation and that lymph fluid uphill, especially if you've been spending a lot of time seated. The next variation I'd like to show you, for this one, you could sit there for 3 to 5 minutes comfortably. I do obviously have people that go much longer, but you really don't need a whole lot of movement or time to start increasing oxygenation in the blood, and just you'll start feeling like you can breathe better. Just relax. If you've got a lot of tension in the neck and the shoulders, upper back, which many of you do, you can add and become part of the movement. Add your hands, the palms of your hands, lock your arms up. We're not bearing a lot of weight. We're not doing a push-up. And you'll feel it kind of in between the shoulder blades. All you're doing is adding some stimulation to the neck and the shoulders. You could roll them around, whatever you do sitting on your desk, okay? This is fairly mild because it's going all the way through your legs, and then your hands are kind of the second hand effect. To get a little bit more direct action, if you can tolerate it, bring your elbows down onto your knees. Just put your hands comfortably together like this and play with the angles. If this feels okay, keep your head past your toes. Your knees are in line with they're straight up and down. What you can do with this one is arch up like a cat. It's kind of like a seated cat-cow. Come the other way. Do some little shoulder rolls. You'll find it's a little bit more deep on the outer arm and up into the shoulder blades than the base of the neck. If you want more base of the neck, lean back a little bit, and you'll feel it a little bit more in the neck and the shoulders. It's a really easy way to control, especially if you've got degenerative neck or just tension and stress, if you've got sensitivities or deficiencies in the neck and the spine. Okay, if at any time you're finding this is just a little too much or a little too aggressive, don't slow it down. That's the immediate reaction. Keep your speed the same and just modify and bring your feet a little bit closer. And while you're doing any exercise on a vibration platform, we have a tendency to not really pay attention to our breathing if you're not mindful of that now. So just make sure that you are breathing. You're not yapping around like I am, but just make sure that you're breathing. If you've got some breathing exercises or techniques that you do now, any of that can be incorporated into your time on the plate and just combine and harmonize the effects for a better outcome overall. Okay, so that's just one variation you could do for 3 to 5 minutes. You can just sit here, but it's nice to get a little bit more of a total body effect. This type of thing is not only just great for stress and depression and those types of things, but it's also really good just, because it feels good. Maybe this is a minute or two before you head out the door, or if you've had a really long day. It's just a really good way to kind of get rid of the day, oxygenate the blood. And if you are dealing with poor mobility, you're dealing with maybe a new hip, or you're dealing with some surgery where you're not able to weight bear exercises yet, this is an alternative just to get a little bit of action without committing to weight bearing exercises and actually standing on the platform. Okay, so that's one variation. I'm already feeling a little bit looser. If you're just joining me, today is Post-Traumatic Stress Disorder Day in the US. And I want to hear, if you are here joining me today, if there's anything particular with your plate that you'd like to understand and how you can apply it, or if you've got some tips of your own, I'd love to hear what you may have to share. So the next one we're going to do is a seated massage. So very similar to what we did, but if range of motion allows you to sit on the platform, there's a couple of really nice variations you can consider and get a little bit more direct action to the hips and the core, especially if you tend to have tension and stress in the lower back, the sides, sciatic, glutes, anything, hamstring tension for a lot of my guys. So all we're doing, and when I sit on the plate, I always have the controls in front of me. Sometimes I kind of get into what I'm doing and my bum hits the buttons and speeds me up or changes mode. So I always have the buttons between me. And just like when you're standing, you're always in control over the intensity. When you're sitting versus standing and bearing your weight, you tend to be able to take a higher speed because your body is absorbing it in a different way. So sky's kind of the limit. When I do massage, I certainly like the higher end. But whatever I'm doing, I mix up within ranges from week to week, just so the body doesn't get used to any one thing. So I'm going to crank mine up to about the 50 range, keeping in mind it goes 60. If you do have spine sensitivity issues, you're fearful, you can back yourself up just slightly so the tailbone is off. You're going to feel a little bit of secondhand vibration, but it's not as intense as when you sit on it. Your spine is kind of dead center when you're seated on a plate, so it's getting very minimal impact to begin with. If you are sensitive in the head and the neck and you're not quite used to how it feels, just lean forward slightly. You can even hear the difference in my voice, and you'll get your spine at a bit of an angle, and you won't even feel it much up past your mid-back. So this is another way of just getting some really good circulation. Perhaps you do a combination of these where you start with the feet and the calves on the plate, and then we're moving up to the seated position where we're getting a little bit more action on the hips. This is great, again, for low back, just sitting here for a minute or two, perhaps as a warm-up before a workout. If you do tend to have you got to be conscious about your back, or you're working on making it stronger. It's also a really good way after exercise, or if you do very strenuous activity throughout your day, just to loosen up those muscles and stop those chronic issues from building. So a variation to get a little bit more upper body action, and I've done this before in past sessions, but it is one of my faves. Palms down. I want you tucking your hands just under your butt cheek, kind of where it meets the top of your hamstring. And you'll feel, I see, I just hit a button. There we go. Keeping your elbows slightly bent. It's very hard to lock your arms and do this. But you're going to feel on the outside, the triceps, depending on what angle your shoulders are at. Again, if you're sensitive and just not used to the head vibration yet, just lean forward slightly. I like to kind of sit up and let it get into my neck and my ears. And I've been doing this 15 years. I could do this all day. And I do like little shoulder rolls. I turn my neck from side to side. Experiment. Maybe you want to add some side stretches. Really touching the toes. If it feels good, do it. And, instead of just sitting here, which you absolutely can do, maybe you're clearing off Facebook messages or some text to friends. But this is a really easy way if you deal with a lot of carpal tunnel, the weak wrists or shoulders, just by sitting on your hands, you get a lot of good movement in the upper body, moves and churns that lymph, good circulation again. And if you're dealing with any type of hand issues like neuropathy, Raynaud's, any of those type of things, you'll notice just your body weight sitting on your hands incorporated with the vibration is a great way to not only gain strength and better range of motion and flexibility in your fingers and your wrists, but you will notice an improvement in those chronic issues. The key to any of these is regular use. So, it's taken years and years and years to develop these conditions. Perhaps in some cases you've had a very traumatic instance or issue, and you're dealing with something right now. If you have a vibration plate or it's something that you've been considering, they are not just for exercise. There's a whole world of wellness to be explored. And it's such a universal tool for the simple fact it can be your exercise, but it's also a phenomenal therapy tool, whether you're dealing with stress, sleep disorders, muscle tension. There's a million ways that stress presents on our body and our mind. And this is just a really good way, whether you like to do physical exercises or stretching and massage, or you like to do meditation and breathing exercises. A vibration plate is just an environment that will increase the effects of whatever you are doing on it over doing it on the floor. And it's low impact, reduces the amount of time. And really what that means is with stress and dealing with these types of conditions, you're just going to get relief quicker. So experiment. It's for those of you that are just working out on it all the time. Sometimes we don't think of it. We're going to the masseuse or the sauna, and there's a world of benefit in using this. As a standalone to deal with your symptoms of whatever stress that you're dealing with, or in complement with other treatments or therapies you may be doing to enhance the overall effects. So I hope that helps. Thank you so much to Lauren for dropping all of my links here. Like I say, there's a bit of information out there if you did want to do some surfing on the internet. And it is post-traumatic stress day. So, part of the reason I love doing these sessions with a theme and bringing acknowledgement to some of these national awareness days is we need to be aware of them, whether you're dealing with them on an ongoing basis or someone in your home that you're helping support with it. Maybe you don't have anyone in your life, but part of how other people get help and feel comfortable reaching out for help is awareness and understanding. You got a friend over there and they're doing this for 15-20 minutes, or they're freaking out, and you got a vibration plate. Introduce them to it. Or if you've got a massage gun, or maybe you've got a bioheal panel, there's lots of ways that sometimes we can share not only the knowledge of some of these great tools that are working for us, but help others. Sometimes it's the last things, people don't always think about a red light treatment for their stress. They're just running for an Advil, or, traditionally, if you're going for a masseuse and, you need to go 3-4 times, some of these things can add up. And there's lots of ways, even within tools you may already have from Lifepro, to deal with some of these conditions. So who do we have here with me? Can we do it for more than just a couple of minutes? Can you go for a walk for more than a couple of minutes? You absolutely can. What I try to stress with the short stuff is you can get a lot of benefit in a short session using it more often. And sometimes your lifestyle requires that. Sometimes the last thing you want to do is 15-20 minutes after the end of your day. And I like to stress that, short but sweet. Or in complement, if you want to do a longer session and incorporate other things, that's absolutely fine. I will say sometimes just going longer and longer doing the same thing might feel good, but if you're looking for physical effects, fitness gains, more toning, bone density, you'll still get all of these wellness and feel good effects while you're doing your exercises on the plate. So if you are doing squats and planks and push-ups, that's cool. So you can absolutely do this stuff for longer periods. But I do like to stress that, if time doesn't allow for that in your schedule, you're still going to get a lot of benefit out of short spurts. And if you are dealing with chronic issues, fatigue, pain, neuropathy, some of those are really good reasons to just do these little spot treatments and treat those symptoms and, reduce them throughout the course of the day and hopefully in the long term eliminate them completely. Sometimes recognizing your triggers and a minute or two on this is going to help you settle and ground yourself. I had a wonderful comment in one of my groups today about a young little fella that was quite worked up and quite upset, and his grandma put him on her plate for about 10 minutes, and he really calmed down and quite enjoyed the experience. The tough part with the kids sometimes, and this is absolutely there's a lot of research just using vibration plates and light therapy with children for a variety of reasons as well, but they do tend to find with the moods and the depression, kids are a little bit more positive than we are at the best of times, but it does really help them. And they're both just such ideal, non-invasive ways to treat many of these conditions. So let me see what I have here for questions. Other than that, thank you for asking that. I wish I could give you a time parameter for everything, but everybody's so different. how long it takes you to get relief, versus fitness results. That's all going to be a different equation for everybody. But for something like this, absolutely, do it as good as it's going to make you feel. But make sure that especially if you're going for longer periods, try to mix up those speeds from week to week. So if you're always using the same speed, slow it down for a little bit and let your body readjust and kind of keep it on its toes and not getting it used to any one thing. And then, speed it up the next week. So I always talk in ranges, and I know it does frustrate some people that I won't commit to an exact number, but it's like going to the gym and saying, okay, let's go lift weights. Maybe I like to do lots of reps with a smaller amount of weight, and maybe you prefer to do, big reps with less amount of reps. So, or it really depends. There's a lot of ways and styles to train, but when it comes to the wellness and the feel good, what's going to relax you and how long it's going to take you is going to vary. Just make sure you're supporting it with, keeping the water going and some good compliments to sleep and food. And if sleep's a big one, where you're not getting sleep and it causes stress sometimes the next day. If you haven't tried for a couple 3 minutes before you go to bed, you'll probably have a better sleep. Restless leg, whatever ails you, a lot of that contributes to stress in the long run. Post-traumatic stress, when you're dealing with trauma, it could be something that happens right now. It could be something you've been dealing with for years and years, and maybe you don't even think that's what you have. But if there's physical signs in your body and there's aches and pains and sometimes just mental stress, don't discount it. Start taking care of yourself, whether you have a diagnosis or not. You've got a really easy fix here in how to move and feel better. Well, I thank you for joining me today. The weather is beautiful. You're welcome, Kuchina. I hope I'm saying that right. I know I've seen you in past sessions, so thank you so much for joining me today. If you do have someone with post-traumatic stress that they're dealing with and they don't have a vibration plate, or they do, something to make them aware of. Same with red light. If you've got the face masks, if you've got the any of the belts, the BioHeal, I do love. There's lots of different ways. Just spending time with your devices on a regular basis without having to do something special may help treat the effects of post-traumatic stress, seasonal disorder, whatever may be bringing you down. And a lot of these tools are just a really great way to help lift you up. So have a great Monday. I will be back here Thursday with a new launch, and I think it's going to be weights. So I'm going to be doing, there's a new Power Flow dumbbell that I think it's the Power Flow X. I'm totally screwing this up, Lauren, I'm sure. But I'm going to look forward to showing you some moves that you can do with this awesome new dumbbell. And I'm probably going to incorporate a vibration machine. So I look forward to beating you up a little bit on Thursday. And I think we'll probably do a giveaway as well. So see you on Thursday. Don't work too hard. Have a great start to your week. And thank you so much for being here. And I look forward to talking with you very soon.